Have you ever thought about how much time you have on this planet? Have you ever thought about why some things seem automatic and some things seem like a complete, what they call quote unquote accident, and some things are acts of nature? I was looking at this today because of actually the following tab that I'm going to pull up, but it's something interesting that I came across that got put in my feed. And this is a gentleman, I think he's based in New York. He talks about Bible prophecy. Some people are engaged in it, some are not. I don't have a conversation one way or another. I don't know enough about it. But I did listen to this and I thought that the points were actually kind of interesting. And it asks, what if, in fact, the core leading into it asks, what if this time of period of life is not random, or the way it's phrased here is how the Bible points to today. So what if today really was planned and mapped out? And if today was mapped out, what if every day is mapped out? And if that is mapped out, then we go to the physiological, got it, choice of asking, do we have any choice in our lives? And what actually brought this up today is this one over here. And this I thought was so interesting because it says a car cut in half. And this was posted, it says yesterday evening. And it is really, really interesting because as you see the span there, that car is absolutely decimated, right? And just again, one more span here, you can just kind of see it as a news story. And there's not much in there. And yet it says it was a single car accident, one person, no other vehicles involved, right? And there was only the one driver, no passengers. And what is absolutely amazing to me is when I read the transcript, the driver survived. How is that even possible? It is absolutely amazing, the blessings that happen here. And I'm sure that as we get stories from individuals, these are the type of cases where we hear that there was something supernatural that occurred. But what about the lottery? The lottery is a manipulation of numbers. It's very easy to manipulate the number that comes up, plus everything's digital, and you can decide whose ticket, you can tell who's going to get the numbers, right? Whose life are you going to mess with by giving the lotto? Whose life are you going to reward by giving the lotto? Whose life are you going to punish? You know, all of these things are done behind the scenes. Now, what is also interesting is I've always said getting one of the much coveted tech jobs is better than winning the lotto. As far as better is a subjective word, but there's more of those roles. They're extremely high paying and they're consistent over a period of time. So somebody can build a lifestyle, a family around it, build an empire, start a small business. They can spin out and start a large business from the funds that they receive, whether or not they're an employee or they had an idea that got bought up and merged or acquired by one of these large companies. But what's very interesting, and I couldn't find it today, is this is the CEO of Google and Alphabet. And he came from the same Indian university over in India as many other executives out of Silicon Valley. And there's some names in this chain, but it doesn't highlight the individuals that we know. And because I couldn't find the actual loop, but it's really interesting that one university in India created so many CEOs. What is the connection there? Then we have to look at horrendous incidents that happen and think, how is that random thing flying through the air that makes contact with some people? Some people are even in their bed at night and they're removed from the planet. And yet in this case, we look at two. I thought this was interesting. This is just 2 hours ago. Oregon police seek motive in Safeway shooting. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting because we're dealing with in our community this one, San Jose Safeway shooting. And just recently they announced an arrest in that case. What's going on here? These things are not just random. And we know that they're not just random because we had this issue that we knew was a lack of facts, highly politicized. It ignited a movement, but was really interesting is when the president of Venezuela's son who is also a congressman in Venezuela and very, very well respected, came to speak with us. He informed us that take note around the world. Your news is limited. We had the same scenario in our country. It was the same scenario of an individual with similar background, and it did the same scenario. He mapped it out step by step, and he said, these are playbooks. They're rolling forward. So are they actually creating the playbooks, or is something larger creating those playbooks? Now, this is what really, really shocks me. When I was younger, there was a home in San Jose, not very far from me, and we're not even in the flight path. But here's a similar one. Man dies as a small plane crashes into his house. He was in his home. The owners of the house were not at home when the four-seater crash went into the garage of the detached property. Right, so in this case, it says these owners actually weren't in the house, but in the one in San Jose that I noted, the gentleman was in his easy chair, watching TV, a plane came through his roof, and that was the end of his life. How does your number come up for that? We've got to wonder how time is run and who's controlling it. But you know what we do know? Insurance companies have a pretty good handle on this. In fact, as I put in insurance companies' estimate lifespan, you can even go to this site right here and get an estimate of your life expectancy. And you know who's motivated to do that are insurance companies, because they know how to set the price. They know the expected illnesses or issues that are going to come up at specific age ranges, and they know how long they need to pay out. So I think this is really interesting. What do we have control over and what do we not have control over? What is mapped out for us already? And is in fact there is some truth that this several thousand-year-old book actually points to today? Maybe time is not random. I liken it to a slinky. And I liken it to a slinky, not the kind, I mean, not in the form that it's used when it kind of slinks on down the stairs, which is still kind of cool that happened. But if you look at boy, I'm just really twisting on words here. A slinky, it circles, right? And it kind of loops back on itself. It's a spiral. And in my belief, that's what time is. Time isn't linear, and we know that, we've been told that. And we can speed it up or slow it down based on what we're introducing to, whether or not we're really excited about something. Time passes quickly. If we're bored, time just inches by. At different ages, time seems to matter. As you're waiting for your birthday when you're 9, it can take forever. You're waiting for your birthday when you're in your 50s, it zooms by to your 60s in a blink of an eye. As you're going on a road trip, it takes forever to get there, but quickly to come home, because the neurotransmitters in your brain, when you're going, everything is new and time is slowing down in order to grab the smells, the sights, everything it can. You've already captured all of that. And so when you turn around and come back, time seems to fly. So if time is malleable, and if time is not random, and time loops around to give us opportunities to make additional choices in similar scenarios, then how does this play into the decisions that we make in our own lives? Just a question. Have a blessed day.